Hello, welcome back to Aetheral Space 12.1 Brave New World. We are back.
Hey guys! Woo! Last time on Aetheral Space, wow.
Everyone was sad.
That was the prologue. Everyone was sad. Dragon fucked off. He's like, I'm gonna go heal myself on the planet Pen. This is the first time I have to give a recap of Aetheral Space. It's been a while. So what happened, if you don't recall, was Ruth was all beat up. She lost her legs. Dragon was more so. We never really got an extensive list, I think, of what happened.
Was
but
generally
missing some important organs.
It was like that back in meeting where it's just like a head.
The head, yeah. Pretty much.
It zooms out, just a stump.
And they were like, we have all this money, but we simply can't fix them, smile. And then everyone was being all sad, and then Dragon Gemini Worlded, and he's like, I'm going to Gemini World to a ship, drive to the planet Pan, and fix myself. And he, like, he didn't really say goodbye. He kind of appeared to Ruth as a voice and said, like, goodbye to her, and then fucked off. And then we got a cutaway on was it on the Shisha?
Yeah,
itself?
the Shisha. Now that Supreme
Where,
everyone had left to go do this.
Where the prisoner, who is, I believe, Henry?
No, he was Henry's
son. So he's unnamed.
Yeah, we don't know his name.
Okay, yeah, and he was freed, and the guards were like, no, we can do this! And then his fucking elite squad of goons came in.
Like,
it was Hedman, Hedman's the main one I remember,
that's Smith,
and Noel and Rayanch, I don't remember the other ones.
There's McCoy, who's like the one with the bandages.
Yeah.
And then there's, of course, the Abyssal Knight.
The Abyssal Knight, of course. And now we're back. Wow, time skip! You know what's crazy?
Delayed reaction.
You know what's crazy is I called that there was going to be a time skip, but this one is literally so sudden. It's just 2 years later because it's a book. Wow! I called this! Everybody tell me how smart I am because I called this.
People did call it, yeah.
Yeah. Whew. Okay, fuck. Be nice to me if my voices are off. I've been... I have my throat.
You've been playing Fortnite.
Anyway.
It's been simply so enraged.
No, don't even get... Anyway. 2 years later, it was raining that night, as it did every night on Mother's Ruin. After the 1,000 revolutions, the remaining loyalists to the Gene Tyrants had been hunted down across the galaxy. Some, like the people who would later become known as Noblesse Oblige, retreated into hiding and vanished from the public eye. Or is it Noblesse Oblige?
I think either one's fine. Like, a French person will probably tell you, but for the sake of the story, it doesn't really matter.
Of course. Others, however, weren't so lucky or so competent, and the former noble colony of Mother's Ruin had quickly been targeted by the nascent supremacy and the anti-Gene Tyrant alliance. That's like being formed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. To be fair to them, the Loyalists had managed to last quite a while in that long night. Their planetary... This is the past, right? This is 2 years
This
later.
is like, it's just like telling you the history of this place, yeah. But the events that are going to take place will be 2 years.
Wait, so this has happened over the 2 years?
No, we're in a place 2 years later, but the narrator's telling us about the history of the place.
Who's the narrator? When have we had a narrator in it?
This was the narrator, me.
This is brand new. This has never happened in 11 arcs.
It has happened. I've often told you the history of things from an omnipresent perspective.
Sure.
I did it in our 10.
The Loyalists had managed to last quite a while in that long night. The planetary defenses had been sound, and the Supremacy had been reluctant to perform a full orbital bombardment. Their allies had wanted to put the leaders of the Loyalists on public trial as a ceremonial end to the 1,000 revolutions. So even as the Supremacy fleets had constricted around the planet, life had continued on the planet below. For a time. Needless to say, the Supremacy eventually got tired of waiting. Bombardment still wasn't an option, but other avenues were still available to them. I would get rid of
Yeah.
You already knew. Discussions were conducted between the Allied governments, and an agreement was made. Prototype terraforming methods would be used to quite literally flush the Loyalists out of their nests. The end came quietly. A few adjustments to the atmosphere conducted by the newly formed Absurd Weapons Lab, and the Infinite Deluge followed soon after. The rainstorm came down without end, and all drowned. The soldiers, the civilians, the cities, the towns. Even the leaders they'd wanted to preserve sank to the bottom in the end, although by that point the Supremacy cared little for the demands of their former allies. The drowned planet was forgotten soon after, as the supremacy turned on the rest of the galaxy in an effort to unite them under one strong banner. You know what I'm thinking? Because you mentioned they're Gene Tyrant loyalists. I bet they had some genetic bullshit and they turned themselves into fish people.
Mermaids.
The fish people. The corpses remained where they had drowned. Oh, what happened?
Sorry, that was me.
What the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
The corpses remained where they had drowned, a seabed of the damned. Yes, the rain continued to fall, but a forgotten planet was a useful thing indeed. The ventriloquist's quarry had surely thought the same thing. Gloved hands adjusted the landing sequence on the screen before them, the starship feeding the readouts back to the visor the ventriloquist wore over their head. The bright blue visor was long and pointed, like the beak of a bird of prey, and the starship carried a similar theme. Hang on one second. Sorry, I'm not really taking in the information.
Yeah,
catch back up in my head. Visor. Okay, cool. Like an eagle, it spread its wings wide as it maneuvered.
Yeah.
Its wings wide as it maneuvered down through the storm, rain pelting against the cockpit window as it approached the waterlogged city. So ventriloquist, new character, has bird-shaped mask, has bird-themed starship coming down, rain pouring over.
Yeah.
I'm there. It's jungly and flooded. Behind their visor, the ventriloquist narrowed their eyes. Most people called them the ventriloquist for the strangeness of their conduct, but it wasn't what they called themselves in their head. Even so, they were happy to accept the moniker. Their real name wasn't a safe one to advertise. As expected, the quarry had chosen a good time of year for their rendezvous here. The tops of buildings could be seen poking through the artificial ocean, with some streets even visible as well, although in their current state they were more like canals. The level of rainfall on Mother's Ruin varied throughout the year. It never stopped entirely, but sometimes it calmed down enough for the drainage systems to catch up and unearth some of the structures. The starship touched down atop the peak of one of the largest remaining buildings, a rusted hulk that had surely been a factory once upon a time. Once the landing clamps had firmly secured the vessel, the ventriloquist descended the landing ramp, already looking for any signs of life, or, well, the opposite. They couldn't be too hopeful, after all. Their visors swept over the area, scanning the surrounding area for anything of interest, and it did its job well. On a neighboring skyscraper, barely visible throughout a hole in the roof, were a few stray drops of blood, vivid, red, fresh. The ventriloquist gulped, fearing that it might belong to the one they were looking for, but they quickly reassured themselves. Inspection came before despair. The thrusters in their boots carried them across the gaps between buildings easily, even as they did their best not to look down at the hungry ocean that waited for them below. Maybe for the area, change scanning their surroundings or something.
Oh,
scanning the surroundings.
Thunk. That's a good shout.
Wait, oh, sorry. Did I read the paragraph after Vivid Red Fresh?
I think you did. Yeah. They just went across the gap, yeah.
The best not that. Yep. Thunk. The moment they landed on the roof, the ventriloquist crouched down next to the blood sample, poking at it with their gloved index finger. The hidden by name? The analyzer in the glove immediately began comparing the sample to the records in the visor's computer. Apostrophe on visor.
Oh, I was right first time.
A few moments later, it came back with an answer. 98% match, said the readout in the corner of the ventriloquist's vision. Callum Call. They let out a sigh of relief. The blood belonged to one of the people they were after, but not the person they wanted to find. Peering down into the hole in the roof, the ventriloquist could see that the blood trail kept going down through the partially collapsed stairwell, growing more copious as it descended. Little doubt there was a corpse waiting at the end of this treasure trail. "What do you think?" the ventriloquist muttered. "A trap?" A few seconds of silence, and then they nodded to themselves, leaping down into the hole. Again, the thrusters on their boots came in handy, slowing their fall enough that they didn't smash right through the fragile ruins, and, like a detective with an hourglass, they followed the blood trail down into the building proper. The water had done its work well. Whatever function this factory had once served was now utterly indecipherable. Featureless lumps of worn-down metal protruded like gravestones as the ventriloquist pursued the red further, tracking the trail as it wound through old chambers and hallways. All around, the sound of rushing water echoed a constant companion, backed by a chorus of rain. Apart from the ventriloquist's footsteps, no sounds of humanity existed here. The only things that lived on Mother's ruins these days were the raindrops. Is that what this place is called?
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know if that was just how they were phrasing it in their head. Halfway through their chase, they paused. A half-distinct footprint had been planted through the blood before they got there, smeared against the metal floor. From a glance, it seemed to match the size of their quarry, and so they knelt down to inspect it further when pain. Gasping for breath, they planted a hand against their temple, a sickening migraine pulsing through them like a worm crawling through their brain. The pain lasted only a few seconds, but those seconds dragged on, and by the time it was done, the ventriloquist had been forced down to their hands and knees, inconsistent heat and cold coursing through their body. With all the willpower they could muster, they suppressed the urge to vomit, just barely. These headaches were getting more frequent and more painful. Sooner or later, the ventriloquist knew they'd have to get them looked into, but for now, the hunt was the priority. They snapped a quick photo of the footprint with the camera on their palm and saved it for future analysis. The search came to an end soon after that, in a room on the very border between the water and the land. Klaus Kahl.
Callum Call, it should be.
Callum Kahl, a middle-aged man with curly black hair and golden eyes, lay slumped against a pillar, his blood painting the water that lapped at his hands and legs. It was clear from a glance that he was dead, and a quick inspection of the corpse revealed that the fatal wound had been a plasma shot to the back. That checked out. Oh! He's back. We are so back. That makes me think the ventriloquist is Bruno and Serena, since you're being vague about the they, and they talked to themselves and then shook their own head. Ooh, I think that's exactly what they are. A quick warning read as the blood in the water popped up on the visor. Movement detected in the vicinity. The ventriloquists smirked to themselves. The warning was appreciated, but they weren't ignorant enough that they needed the help. They'd been through enough to know when someone wanted to kill them. Callum Kahl, career criminal from the Supremacy City-State of Vivas. Currently on the run after a heist of the premier vault of the Grand Vivas Bank. With takings... What the fuck was that?
A bit of lore I forgot to put in.
The Providenza Vault of the Grand
Sorry, there you go.
Heist of the Providenza's Vault at the Grand Vivas Bank. With takings estimated in the millions of stater. Isn't that not that much in Aetheral Space because it's like yen? You told us the value was like yen, so it's like 1,000 stat. There you go. I was gonna say that's like a couple, like $10,000. Every other member of his crew, save the ventriloquist's quarry, had shown up dead in the last few weeks, and now it seemed that fate had caught up with Cal as well. That wasn't what concerned the ventriloquist. What concerned them was the ability Cal had registered with the previous employers. Automatic generation of aether constructs to deal with deadly threats. Judging from the sinister shapes skulking around the dark corners of the room, the person who had finished Cal off hadn't bothered cleaning up after themselves. The ventriloquist turned and, in the moment before the beasts of steel and stone could lunge forth, spoke. Hey, guy who called it!
Well done.
Serena, they said, grasping the invisible shield before them. Let's start with a spear. Beneath the beak, a cheery smile spread wide. Okay! At the same time as the force field was warped into the shape of a long spear, the first of the three constructs, a metallic sphere, leapt at Bruno and Sphere. Oh my god, she's learning how to do other weapons! Also, leapt at Bruno and Serena, not Bruno.
I thought you did that on purpose.
They'd done their research on Callum Kahl before coming here. His ability worked by combining pre-recorded automatic body parts and other materials into a configuration based on the nature of the threat. Presumably, these last productions had been designed to counter whatever had killed Cal. Or is it Cal or Cal?
It can be either. It's up to you. You decide.
They wouldn't be adapted to the tactics of the ventriloquist. They wouldn't see the invisible spear coming. The shield spear shattered as it was buried in the core of the metal mass, but it was enough to halt the construct's momentum. As it fell to the floor, it lashed out with a protrusion like a scorpion tail, the point aimed square for Bruno's throat. No problem. Perfect parry. No! Oh, you don't know this because you haven't read the roleplay.
What's this?
We made this ability before you.
No, Bruno's done this before.
Perfect parry?
Yeah, he's done it since Arc 3, but he never does it.
Are you kidding me? We gave it to a character, and it was like, as long as their weapon meets it, it like parries any attack instantly, and then strikes back.
Oh, well, it works slightly differently then.
Oh, that's so... He has not done this
He has
before,
done it before.
because we thought that was original.
Well, he's done it before.
JT's gonna cry. You ruined it. I'm kidding. I don't care.
You killed it.
At the very instant before the attack... Nice job, kid! You ruined perfect parry for the character we already killed off. At the very instant before the attack would have made contact, the tail suddenly froze, seized in midair by a perfectly sculpted force field. Is he doing a Smash Bros. Move? Like a perfect shield parry?
It's basically that, yeah.
The construct chittered, red eyes flashing deep beneath the layers of metal, and more tendrils struck at various points all across Bruno's body. 4 in total, aiming for the right leg, the stomach, the heart, and the left temple. Daunting, but it was the sort of thing Bruno had trained for. Hesitation was defeat! That's right, that's that Sekiro lessons. Perfect parry, perfect parry, perfect parry, perfect parry!
I think, like, in this one scene, he's, like, equal to every other time he's used it.
Yeah, oh my god. One by one, the tendrils were caught in force fields right before they made contact, and within the span of around 2 seconds, the construct had been fully immobilized as a result. Bruno swooped in towards the sphere, dodging a swing from one of its fellows in the process. A slot in the center of the machine opened up as Bruno came in. You know what it is? Because I don't believe it. They never call out their attack moves. That's like something we've noted as a fandom. So maybe in your head he was using perfect parry, but it wasn't written out.
I can find sources.
Oh my god, you've totally edited the text. I know it. A slot in the center of the machine opened up as Bruno came in, revealing the eager barrel of a flamethrower. But it was too late. Bruno slapped a firm hand against the automatic. Since he and Serena had entered the bounty hunting business, he'd made efforts to refine his abilities. Once upon a time, perfect parry had been nothing but a rarely used way to stop an incoming attack. It had to be activated right before the attack hit, and when panicked, that was nearly impossible. Is my voice sounding alright, by the way? It feels kind of like...
Sounds fine to me.
Or something. Let me lube up with some water.
Perfect pitch.
Perfect pitch. Bruno had learned to shut his useless panic away, but that wasn't all. He'd made the timing for perfect parry even more unforgiving, and that adjustment came with a benefit. Purple aether flared around Bruno as perfect parry rewarded him, so you can edit techniques after creation, right? Interesting. Granting him momentary strength equivalent to a low-level aether burn. Ordinarily, creating a shield in his hand and immediately destroying it would suffice only to push an enemy away. With perfect parry, though, he could blast right through. Boom! The construct exploded into scraps of metal, and Serena took over control as the remaining 2 automatics pursued them. So now he's being rewarded for his perfect parry. He's gaining it! Why didn't he do that for himself before?
Because previously all it did was like just freeze the opponent's attack, so he could just like hit back. But now he's like.
But now it's like if he times it, so he doesn't.
Well, now the way he's done it, if he doesn't do it with that even more exact timing, it just doesn't work.
Oh, okay. The construct exploded into scraps of metal, and Serena took over control as the remaining 2 automatics pursued them. One was big. Yeah, yours is different than ours. So ours was if a sword hits and he does the perfect parry, it blocks the attack and it like charges up power, and then he can release it with a repost and do like sword beams and shit. One was big and bulky, with 2 arms much larger than its legs that gave it the silhouette of a gorilla. The other was thin and jagged, like a piece of origami, sharp claws protruding from its skeletal arms. She would destroy the thin one first. The skeletal automatic thrust its arms towards her, and Serena dodged with an elegant cartwheel. As she did so, she infused her violet aether into the metal floor below, the pale light coursing through the bulkhead. As she came to a halt, the material flowed out of the floor like a liquid to reform in her grip. In one hand, she now held a mighty metal bow, and the other, a deadly sharp arrow. I'm so glad she's expanded her power set. This makes me happy for her. And him. I'm so happy for them. They've clearly flourished with Dragon being gone. Bruno's force field served well enough as the string. Charging in with a distorted bellow, the gorilla slammed its arms down towards her with enough force to total a car. Serena leapt backwards to avoid it, and at the same time fired her arrow towards the thin automatic. Her aim was perfect, as was her timing, but the shot did not strike true. Before the arrow could hit the automatic, a bright blue shield, slightly translucent, flickered into existence around it, deflecting the projectile. Serena frowned. Oh, so that's its force field, presumably. Yeah. It's adapted against ranged attacks, Bruno observed. It could have been him, right? It could have adapted against him. I'm trying to slightly change their voices to reflect a time skip, but I don't think it's happening. No, it's very hard to do that. I don't know, Bruno, Serena muttered, ducking under another swing of those mighty arms. Lots of people shoot. Don't get your hopes up, okay? They're closing the distance as well, keeping apart in case we appear and disappear between them. It fits. I guess, Serena sighed, and then, with that same breath, she scooped the metal bow in her hand through the metal floor below, adding to its mass until it was a mighty warhammer.
Give me 1 sec.
Oh, I love her!
Seconds.
Spinning like a ballerina, she slammed her new weapon into the thin automatic, utterly demolishing its flimsy body. Whoever these constructs had been adapted against, they'd clearly had a much different fighting style than the ventriloquist. These guys were using tactics aimed to take down a sniper. Clearly they didn't understand they were up against a bulldozer, which left just one. The gorilla thumped its massive arms against the floor as Serena circled it, and the building creaked ominously in response. Best to take this guy down quickly before he had time for collateral damage. Serena enjoyed swimming, sure, but not thrum. Bruno's ears pricked up as he heard it, the telltale noise of a starship engine, the sound of someone leaving this place. Bruno, don't just take over like... Too late. Bruno didn't even realize he'd taken control of the body until the gorilla slammed into him, seizing hold of him as it ran. As a pair, he and the automatic smashed through the far wall, bitter wind slicing at Bruno's skin as he was thrown out of the building. The water below broiled as they plummeted towards it, eager to greet them. Oh, it's hot water?
No, it's just like chaotic, it's like waves and shit.
I thought broil means like... Hold on, broil definition. I want to have faith in you.
So do I. Very worried now.
Yeah, it's to cook. It's like radiant heat.
Oh.
It makes something hot.
Rage, then.
Yes, the water below raged as they plummeted towards it, eager to greet them. He needed to get away. The gorilla still held him tight, clearly intending to bring him down with it. Not a problem. When it came to Aether, the general rule of infusing an object was first come, first served. So Bruno ordinarily couldn't create a shield intersecting someone else's Aether. Not without...
Sorry.
If you're wondering, I'm waiting for the
Sorry,
to
patch
come to
notes.
fruition. Not without investing a greater power. But Callum Call was dead. Callum Call was dead. His Aether was fading, and the joints he was aiming for were so very thin. If he could just overpower them... Pop, 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 pop. 4 shields appeared for just an instant, severing each of the joints connecting the construct's limbs to its body, and the disassembled automatic tumbled down into the sea. Bruno himself landed on another force field, the barrier easily holding his weight as he caught his breath. For a moment he remained there, staring down at the ocean below, waiting for some final attack. But it never came. Callum Call's last gasp had come and gone. Callum Call's last gasp had come and gone is a good sentence. That's fun to say. Gritting his teeth, Bruno snapped his head up to look at the hole they'd left in the wall up above. They'd fallen quite the distance before he'd managed to escape. He needed to climb all the way back up. Damn it! He clenched his fists. He didn't have time! He needed to hurry! That ship was getting further and further away every second. If he didn't give a move on, he'd... Oh, Bruno, Serena sighed. We've done this enough times, right? You know. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, we've done this enough times, right? You know. For a moment, Bruno persisted, hurriedly creating a staircase of shields to get back to the building. Soon enough, though, experience won over hope, and he found himself falling down to his knees. Serena took the liberty of standing back up. If we look away from Dragon, she sighed, looking up at the empty sky, he's already gone. Oh. My Kokoro. It hurts. Is it Shrike?
Yeah.
Okay. No slipstreams. So what was their birdie ship called?
The Shrike.
Oh. The Shrike swooped through the Gulf of Space like the bird it was named after, moving towards its destination on autopilot. I have to Google Shrike.
I promise it's real.
I know, but I was just wanting to... Oh, that's a way less menacing bird than I thought. That's so cute. What the fuck? I thought it would be like a hawk type thing, but no, it's just a fluffy little guy. As Serena had predicted, Dragon had been long gone by the time they'd managed to get the ship in orbit. That was assuming, of course, that he'd been there in the first place. When you said, like, bird-like helm, I can only imagine Griffith's femto helm. The only traces of his presence Bruno had managed to scrounge together were the ramblings of one of Call's near-dead comrades and a blurry security videograph. Straws to clutch at. In the cockpit, Bruno sighed, leaning back in his seat as he looked at the dark beyond the window. Without looking, he reached out to the side, snatching away a cup of coffee carried by the refreshment automatic Serena had insisted they buy. He sipped the drink. Bitter, and not the way Bruno liked it. The thing hadn't been worth the money. It had been a long 2 years. After Dragon had disappeared, somehow escaping from the rescue fleet even though he should have been comatose, Bruno hadn't been in any mood to go with his UAP hosts back to their territory. He'd had a friend to find. Serena had no choice but to come with him, of course, and Ruth had accompanied the two of them for a time, But eventually she drifted away. She'd found a life to live. Been months since they'd last spoken. You know what's sad about this, too?
Yeah.
Is in the beginning, Serena was like, give Dragon a chance! And now Bruno's the one who's like, no, my Nakama! He's having a real Naruto Sasuke moment. Yeah! Dragon! Bruno! Bruno and Serena had found one too, in a fashion. A way they made money to support Bruno's endless search. The ventriloquist, the alias they'd decided on, was quite the respected bounty hunter these days. They went after criminals on the run, bringing them to whatever passed for justice and the supremacy. They worked for the supremacy?!
Like a bounty hunter.
That's still very dark. That is not what Skipper would have wanted. Next sentence. Bruno was sure that Skipper would have disapproved of him cooperating with the supremacy, even to that extent, but a guy had to eat. Especially since Dragon Hadrian seemed to very much not want to be found. Destination approaching, the Shrike's auto-brain said smoothly. Please take care. Bruno blinked, snapping back to attention. The Gelstrung was a sight to behold. A massive station formed from countless bound-together cylinders, huge enough that it blotted out the stars behind it. One of the Supremacy's biggest and most secure prisons. And the holding place for the man that Bruno had come to speak with. It wasn't easy. It had taken countless pro bono jobs as the ventriloquist to muster the goodwill needed for such a favor.
Pro Bruno.
Be careful. What's up?
Pro Bruno.
Pro Bruno. Is that what I said?
No, I just thought it was a funny little joke.
You should have wrote it that. You wrote Pro Bruno instead of Pro Bruno.
He wouldn't have said that in his head.
But it would have been funny. Be careful, Bruno, Serena warned him. If they figured out who we are, this could be a trap. Right, Bruno muttered. Got it. Tiny names like theirs weren't at the top of the Supremacy's hit list, but it was still best to watch their backs. After the Elysian Fields incident, as it had come to be known, the Supremacy had retaliated harshly against all the different parties involved. The man Bruno was meeting was just one of them. The Callum Call trail might have gone cold, but it wasn't the only one Bruno could follow. He had no shortage of straws to clutch at, after all. Oh, is this going to be fixed, do you think?
What do you mean? What? I know, but I can't say.
I think it might be Fix he's going to see. Who else would it be? All the other fuckers died, basically. Unless somehow they didn't kill Roy and they imprisoned him, it could be Roy. You'll have 5 minutes, said Bruno's host, a scurrant security officer with a pair of massive feathered wings. That's all I could pull for you. That's fine, Bruno replied, his voice modulated by his visor. He was here as the ventriloquist. It was a short amount of time he was being given, but from what he remembered, this guy wasn't much of a talker anyway. Bruno followed the officer down countless dull gray hallways, making seemingly random turns again and again and again. From what Bruno understood, the Gelstrung was specifically designed to be a confusing labyrinth, so that any escaping prisoners would quickly become lost, easy pickings for the guards. The man leading Bruno had a visor lowered down over his eyes, too. No doubt it was feeding him the route to his destination. I assume the cylinders rearrange as they move. Hell yeah. If he decided to abandon Bruno for whatever reason, he was pretty screwed. But abandon Bruno he did not. After a few minutes, the two of them finally reached the door to a visitation room. The guard nodded towards the metal door as it slid open. Wait in here, he said simply. I'll get him to you. Bruno, this is so shady. Fine, Bruno repeated, striding into the dark room beyond. Behind him, he heard the guard speak once more. 5 minutes! 5 minutes, Bruno replied. The door slid shut behind him, and for a second he was bathed in darkness, until the lights on the ceiling flickered on, revealing the chamber. There wasn't much to look at. A single chair facing a huge glass cube in the middle of the room, an empty cube. Bruno glanced over his shoulder, wary of the cameras, but turned back to the room's centerpiece as a deep rumbling noise began to sound out. Now that Bruno looked, that cube was actually emptier than he'd first believed. Below it, on the other side of the glass, was nothing but a deep, dark pit. No, not a pit. An elevator shaft. As the Del-said twins watched, a prison cell began to rise up until it filled the cube, held behind the glass like an exhibit at a zoo. Even after the cell had risen up, though, there wasn't much to speak of in the enclosure. A bed, a stout bookcase, an audiograph blaring out indistinctly. In the annoyed glare of his modious face.
He's too good.
I'm on fucking fire.
The guy
today.
knows the world.
I'm so on fire, it's not even funny. I think it's just because we think alike. Great minds. That being said, I don't mean to keep spoiling ahead of the story, so feel free to censor me when I do that. if you edit it back. The orange prison jumpsuit the Skirrent wore provided a burst of color that was almost garish compared to his gray skin and yellow eyes, sunk deep within their pits. The former acting head of the Elephant Crime Organization sat on the side of the bed, fingers drumming along his thighs as he regarded Bruno. For a second, it seemed as if he'd say nothing at all. Wait a minute. He was the acting head of Elephant when?
It's been 2 years.
Oh. Then. Is this Asmodeus
Yeah,
talking? His voice was like really deep and gravelly.
It was like I made fun of it for being like a ghoul smooth skin.
What do you want? He grunted like that.
Yeah, like it's the kind of guy who called you smooth skin.
What do you want? Like that?
Yeah.
He grunted. Bruno's memory had been accurate, it seemed. This man wasn't much of a talker. He doubted Asmodeus Fix had been part of many conversations that had gone on for more than 3 minutes, let alone 5. So Bruno got to the chase. Dragon visited you, he said, voice curt as he paced around the outside of the cube. Dragon Hadrian, 2 weeks ago. What did he tell you? Where was he going next? Fix blinked placidly, following Bruno as he moved through the room. He wasn't here, he said placidly, his voice a bored.
I ain't no snitch.
Don't bullshit me, Bruno snapped. People I trust tell me he was here, and you spoke to him. Asmodeus Fix sighed like 2 rocks scraping past each other, and he stood up from the bed, crossing his arms. Del said, right? Bruno stopped. What? You're the Del said kid. One of them. I recognize your voice. Fix nodded to the visor Bruno was wearing. Take that thing off. I don't... Take that thing off, Fix repeated, steady and insistent. You look ridiculous. Slowly, Bruno acquiesced. Since he spent a lot of time in the field, he wore that visor more often than not, and so a slight difference in shade had emerged between the bottom and top half of his face. If anything, Bruno thought he looked more ridiculous without the thing. It makes us look unique, Bruno, Serena said reassuringly. No, it's like they're Two-Face for their 2 personalities, light and dark.
It's like vertical.
Yeah, vertical. Well, isn't it more horizontal because it's the visor the top half?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
You look different, Fix grunted. I'm not here for small talk, and neither are you, Bruno said. I just want to know where my friend is. What did Dragon tell you when he was here? Fix stared at him for a moment, his golden gaze inscrutable, his mouth a flat line. He's like a gigapug, right? He's like some special Pugnant Plus.
Exactly.
The only sound came from the audiograph in the corner of the cell. It was blaring out a running commentary on the conclusion of the outer melees. Oh no, the Dawn contest! No! It's happening! Bruno glanced at it, annoyed by the exuberant and near incoherent celebrations of the announcer. Can you turn that off? Oh, wait. Can you turn that off? He asked. No, Fix replied. It's history. He was sort of right about that. After 2 years of investigation and preparation, the Dawn contest, the process to decide the next Supreme, had finally begun. Doesn't Aklima basically get a bye till the last round?
That's how it works, successor? Yeah. So whoever wins this tournament fights Aklima to be Supreme.
Gotcha. Had finally begun. Who's in control in the meantime? The body?
Body and military, sort of joint committee. But the body takes care of the government stuff.
Gotcha. Those who came out victorious in the chaotic free-for-all of the outer melees would proceed to the inner melees, and those victors would then be accepted into the tournament proper. It was strange to think, but one of the names the cheerful announcer was reeling off could very well be the next leader of the Supremacy. We all know that's not... We've seen Aklima fight. That's not going to happen. I'm surprised they gave you an audiograph in here, Bruno commented. So radio? He has a radio he's listening to? People still use radio in Aetheral Space. It's kind of base.
Yeah.
I respect that. Fix scratched his chest. I'm good at making friends. Not everyone's so lucky. They say old Roy's in here, too. Somewhere so deep and dark that nobody will ever find him. So it goes. I don't know anything about that, Bruno said, glancing away. I bet not. You want my advice, kid? Fix finally spoke again. No, Bruno snapped. I want your answers! Well, Fix shrugged heavily. My advice is the best you're gonna get. I tell you to give up, kid. Bruno's brow creased as he glared, continuing to pace around the cell, visor tucked under his arm. Fix continued without waiting for a reply. Dragon doesn't want to be found. You ain't stupid. You realize that. I'm telling you now it's for your benefit, not his. Maybe I could tell you something that'll give you some clue, but wherever that clue takes you, it ain't somewhere that you want to go. Understand? Bruno didn't answer. He just stared, eyes wide. Not at his Asmodeus Fix, but at the tiny audiograph in the corner of the room. Fix frowned, glancing at the object too for a moment, before realizing what had happened with a deep groan. Whoop! Do I still have you?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah? Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Hello?
Hi.
Are you there?
I'm here.
Sorry, there hadn't been any sound in my headphones in so long, they turned off on me. I had to turn them back on. Fix frowned, glancing at the object too for a moment, before realizing what had happened with a deep groan. Ah, shit. The reason Bruno hadn't answered was because of the words the audiograph had just said. In the end, Bruno didn't use the 5 minutes he'd been given. A second after hearing what the audiograph said, he just turned on his heel and charged out of the room, hurriedly putting the visor back on. Fix just watched him go, shaking his head ruefully as the cell began to descend back down. So it goes, he grumbled, in the moment before he was swallowed again by the darkness. Dragon can't be going under his own name, though, right? Unless it's Ruth. Who's in the Dawn contest that we know? It's one of those two. I want to see this to the end, but my throat is in so much pain. Can you take over?
No problem. Light point 213467191003B. Little Brother. Little Brother was one of 2 light points in the Hedurna system, right on the edge of supremacy space. The safe edge, not the one that bordered the UAP. A small spherical star station, perpetually in the shadow of Hedurna 2, out of sight and out of mind. Its counterpart in the system, imaginatively named Big Brother, was officially recognised by the supremacy of supply and arms shipments passing through each and every day. The people who ran Big Brother had become quite rich from the business tyranny brought. Little Brother wasn't recognised, wasn't rich, and so it was where the interesting people were. Ruth Blaine sighed as she walked down the road, her bulky mechanical legs thumping against the ground beneath her. They were thick, industrial grey, the feet flat and round like those of an elephant. They looked more like something stripped from a mining automatic natural prosthetics. Ruth didn't mind that, though. They looked cool. The noise... The noise, though? She didn't care as much for that. Funk, funk, funk all the time, like she was a walking factory.
I'm guessing she didn't get the best bionics
No.
the UAP had to offer.
The cushioning on the soles, which was supposed to make them less loud, had been wearing away for a couple of weeks now. But the money she had to hand wasn't for her own comforts. Fuel costs, food, clothes, ammo... Ruth honestly didn't know how Skipper had managed it. Her red long coat swished around her metal legs as she ducked into a side street, quietly passing through it before reaching the hangar where the ship was waiting.
She adopted Skipper's fashion, but hers is red. Oh.
The Slipstream Brave, she'd insisted on the name, was a sleek red and blue combat freighter, perched on the landing pad with a collection of insect-like legs.
I notice you're actually giving the ships more personality this time around. Now that the prologue's over, I hope that continues. That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, Skipper alone did not give a shit about his fucking ships. Lights gleamed off the smooth surface of the main cylindrical section, and as Ruth approached, she could see her own reflection in it. The long hair was tied into a braid at her side, and her face held a collection of new and tiny scars. But it was still her.
Aww.
In some little way, in some minuscule but somehow vital sense, she'd made...
Heads up, your mic's like a little scratchy for some reason. Are you moving something near it?
Baba?
Yeah. Oh, hold on.
Baba.
Yeah, I think so. Is it still recording before
Yeah.
we continue? Okay, cool.
She'd found a tiny life for herself and made it work. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't what she maybe wanted, but it was hers and hers alone. Beep! As Ruth came within range of the Slipstream Brave, the script on her pocket connected to the communicator aboard, buzzing as a message came in. Ruth plucked the paper-thin device from her pocket and winced as she saw the sender. Bruno? Did he have another wild goose chase to guilt her for not pursuing? It wouldn't be the first time. Still, it wasn't like she had a choice. Ruth opened the message and her eyes widened when she read it. 2 words from Bruno, and a capture he'd clearly taken off a Bright Eye News report, even. Found him. There, staring at her from right beneath Bruno's words, was the face of Dragon Hadrian. 2 years older, his silver hair grown long, his blue eyes grown cold. That wasn't what shot Ruth, though. What did that were the words that came below the picture. Outer Melee Victor 212, Dragon Hadrian. Victor proceeds to the inner melee.
Oh, he wants to destroy it from the inside. But wait, what about his body? I guess the planet Pan worked out for him. But doesn't Panacea have limits? Oh, but not when you're friends with Panacea. Oh man, that's good. that's so good. Oh man. All right. So real quick, I wanted to bring up because I really liked the prison you mentioned.
Yeah.
What was the name of it?
The Glestong?
The Gelstrong?
The Gelstrong, yeah.
That was really cool. We had one in the role play. I didn't know what you'd feel of it. It wasn't as cool as the Gelstrong, but we called it Shia. And it was like it was sort of like this floating block prison. And what they did is they had prisoners on these ships that were carted around by guards, and they put them on like tethers and made them mine asteroids for minerals.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, man. That was so cool. Seeing Perfect Parry was like, what? Because I guess that was a Bruno ability, but we didn't remember. I was like, did you put our character in here? And then I was like, no, that's Bruno. That's so good. My fun fact, why the Shrike? What's up with the bird theme with them?
He likes birds. There's a particular bird that will come up in Bruno's and Serena's character arc. I can't say it here, but bird motif will be a big thing.
Is that because of the 2 years, or did they always like birds and it just wasn't touched on?
It's 2 years.
Okay.
I think your appreciation for birds.
Yeah. Because I remember what really stuck with me, and I know it was just Talden and not every planet, but when Talden was like, it was so expensive to get audio recordings of birds because they were extinct. And I didn't think it was a world that really had birds a whole lot anymore.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Alright. Well, before that, people have been very upset we haven't been reading the Aetheral thread.
Okay.
So let me get the Aether questions thread.
An Aetheral question, yes.
Jump to present. There's a lot of these. Okay, JT's been asking for this for a long time. He wants October Jones lore.
October Jones. Well, I can't...
Like, describe one of the movie's plots for him, or like how his conception came to be or something.
Well, yeah, October Jones, she was a detective, so the books and movies are based off a real person.
Wait, October Jones is a she?
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I can tell you, yes. So usually there's sort of like a mix between a James Bond and Sherlock Holmes kind of story, like she'll go after like a global conspiracy or like a Dark Star thing or something like that. And I can say we have met her in the story.
Based. October Jones. It's hilarious that you mentioned she's a woman because I think we all thought October Jones was a guy because JT's character in the roleplay is like a big fan of October Jones and was posting like Benedict Cumberbatch edits of like I loved him so much. It's so funny. Oh, that's amazing. All right, let's do one more because this is super easy. Does a Toy Musashi drink coffee? If so, what type?
He prefers tea.
He prefers tea? What kind of tea?
Well, it's a space tea. He prefers Galactica leaf.
What's Galactica leaf known for? Is it like a stimulant? Does it relax you?
It relaxes you.
Nice.
It helps you, like, focus.
Nice. Alright, guys. Thank you all for watching. This one, I think, is going to bang when it comes out.
Ooh, I'd enjoyed it.
That was crazy good. There's so many questions I have, which is always good, because I feel like when you do a time skip, or when you start in a new part of a story, you know, there's so much of the past to uncover.
Yeah.
Because the characters don't just start at the beginning of their lives when you write a story, you know, they're partway through it, and inspired by their past experiences as well as things they go through.
Yeah,
you
don't want to avoid
really
it, like, and then nothing happened for 2 years.
I was surprised how quickly you revealed the ventriloquist, but also I think it was for the best, because that, you know, we're getting into the meat and potatoes right off the bat, which is super promising. I'm really excited to see how Arc 12 goes. How long do you think Arc 12
Arc 12 is going to be a bit of a longer one. A short one, even.
Shorter one. Okay, that's very different. Interesting. Alright, well, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye!
Bye!